Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge and the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you the 2023 Valspar Championship. This is the pick show where I'm going to go through the field and give you all the analysis. I've also changed a little bit of the model, so I'm going to talk about the custom stat model changes. Also, some weather coming for this event, and there might be some advantages on flight time. So we're going to go over all that information. Give me about 45 minutes. I'll get you through it and give you an edge to your DFS and maybe some betting ideas that I've recently had. And with that said, thank you for stopping by. Let's go talk some golf. Okay, so real quick, yesterday I went over the custom stat model that I was using, and I did make two changes, pretty minor. Instead of off the tee, I'm going with fairways gained. And instead of birdies, we're going with bogey avoidance. Why am I doing this? Two reasons. The rough is up an inch. They're making it tougher. They want to get scoring down like it used to be at Valspar. And the last piece of it is we got weather. So we need guys keep the ball in play, going to be able to scramble, get around the green, because it's going to be, looks like, a tough go of it. So with all that said, I did do some change in the weightings. So if you want to look here, I got ball striking at 15%, fairways gained at 15, approach at 25, around the green at 10, putting at 5, those long par 3s at 5, proximity from 175 to 200 out at 10, bogey avoidance at 5, and then scrambling I moved up to 10. Put that into the custom stat model for Fantasy National and hit calculate, and looking at no filters or 6 tournaments, the last 24 rounds of golf played. And this is what it spits out. You got Adam Hadwin, number 1, Keegan Bradley, you got Ryan Gerard, but remember, he qualified for the Honda and has only played a couple tournaments that we have stroke gain data for. You got Aaron Rye, Justin Suh, Nick Taylor, Alex Smalley, Justin Rose, Ricky Bobby Shelton, Mark Hubbard, Justin Thomas, Nate Lashley, Ben Martin, John Vandelon, who's also only got 12 rounds. Again, a Corn Ferry guy. Then you got Eric Cole, who almost won the Honda. That's what it'll be known as until he wins. And then, of course, I wanted to look at the history. So that was recent form, looking at history, only looking at the last 12 rounds or 3 tournaments played at Valspar at the Innisbrook Resort of Copperhead Course. And with that same model, no filters turned on, Keegan Bradley is now number 1. Adam Hadwin becomes number 2. Of course, Sammy Burns, back-to-back winner. You got Neesmith, who gave a good run at it last year for a win. You got Wesley Bryant, funny enough, good showing at Puerto Rico recently, and also has made the cut here 3 times in a row, which is pretty shocking for Wes Bryant. You got Jordan Spieth, your past champion of Valspar. I believe that was 2015 or 16, right around there, wherever he was on his run. You got Fitzpatrick, Luke Donald, also a past champion. I believe that was 2011. Brian Stewart, Ryan Moore, Russell Knox, Dougie Gim, K.H. Lee, JT, and Doc Redman. And amazing enough, Doc Redman's actually had a pretty good history at this tournament, but has been playing some bad golf, but usually is a good ball striker. All right, and then I also take that same model, and I wanted to go look at these comparable courses. Of course, I'm taking in Innisbrook, Copperhead, CCO Jackson, Sanderson Farms. Very similar from the field kind of strength, and then also the trees, the water, well, not so much water, but the Bermuda, the length, the par, all that kind of stuff. And I like Valero, where that is the TPC San Antonio, AT&T Oaks course, I believe. You got Bay Hill, of course, where we just saw the API. Those were the top courses that I wanted to look at from a comparable side, and not a whole lot of change. You got Keegan Bradley, number 1. Again, look at the last 24 rounds, 6 tournaments played on these tracks. You got Sammy Burns, Jordan Spieth, Dougie Gim, Ryan Moore, Fitzy, Hendrik Norlander, who I think had about a 36 placing at the Puerto Rico Open. Kevin Streelman, Adam Hadwin, Tyler Duncan, Tommy Fleetwood, Matthew Neesmith, the Hofster, Charlie Hoffman, Gary Woodland, and Justin Rose, your Pebble Beach AT&T champion. All right, so let's really quickly talk about this weather that's coming. Thursday looks great weather for golf. Should be good scoring, or the best scoring we're going to see. Should happen on Thursday. With that said, I do have some round 1 leader bets, first round leader bets, I should say, that I put in. I'll talk to you about if you're curious, if you like to play first round leader. It's about the only one I do for finishing rounds. I don't typically do the rest of them because the odds drop quite a bit, right? And where you could technically make the money, I believe, is that guy that comes out and does typically good on first rounds. So anyways, I'll show you what I did for that. And then Friday, what happens, it looks like Monday morning's good. And then you've got this cold front bring in showers and possibly thunderstorms. So it's going to get pretty gusty in the afternoon, up to 26 miles an hour. And then the temperature is going to drop a bit, and it looks like thunderstorms are likely. I believe, again, that's the afternoon, gusting up to 25, and then it's going to be a little cooler on Sunday with also possible AM showers, and you see a high of only 67 and gusting up to 20. So the weekend looks like it's going to be a little rough, and we'll have to see how that all works out. Keep an eye on the weather. I can jump over to Wind Finder. I'll do that probably tomorrow. I'll give you a quick show tomorrow with it, but we can look at it again today. Again, I'm recording this on Tuesday afternoon, so this could definitely change. All right, so if you're curious and you wanted to build out of this PM AM, so what I'm seeing is Thursday is great all day long, but you definitely will have an AM advantage. Now, what could happen is what we saw last year at the Players is that the weather gets so bad that the guys don't even go off in the PM and then they get pushed to the next day. But if you are, these are the guys that I like using my model and of course my bias. You got Fitzy, of course, who been dealing with neck issues, but typically as things get tougher courses, when it's 10 under or shooting 10 under and below, Fitzpatrick typically does well. You got Wyndham Clark, been playing great golf, Benoit Ann, Johnny Vegas, Nate Lashley, Nick Taylor, of course, my Ricky Bobby Shelton, Sam Ryder, Tyler Duncan, Trey Mullinax, Matthew Neesmith, Kramer Hickok, who's also been playing good golf, but I'm a little nervous about him because if you look at his track record, he'll miss cut for 5 of 6 events in a row, and then he'll make the cut for 3, and then he'll miss cut for another 5 or 6. So I feel like this could be a bomb waiting to happen, but we'll see. You got Joseph Bramlett, Nick Hardy, Dylan Fratelli, Grayson Sigg, Dylan Wu, Matty Wallace, and Austin Eckroat. So that would be the guys that I would pick from to create my PM AM flights. Looking at it, of course, you can see their tee times here. Tee times are out if you are interested. And that's looking over the last 24 rounds of golf. No filters on, no comp courses, or 6 tournaments. All right, so something that I don't always do for you guys, but if I think about it, as I'm putting the bets in, I thought, well, hey, once I saw tee times were out, I thought I might as well jump real quick and see what we can get some good odds. And I don't have the odds in front of me. I should have probably put that in here. And instead I got their times they're teeing off. But what you're going to notice is I'm taking the guys early morning, which is, pretty typical. You first round leader, I don't know if I had to put a percent, but my own personal thoughts is about 60 to 70% of the time it's the guys that come out of the real early wave for round 1 that just, perfect conditions, dead calm. They come out and they typically shoot pretty well. And so with that said, I bet Justin Suh, Ben Griffin, Ben Taylor, Adam Hadwin, Carson Young, Taylor Moore, Brandon Wu, Patrick Rogers, and Austin Cook. And if you want to know, what are we talking about odds? I mean, Austin Cook would probably be the highest, pretty much working your way back to Justin Suh. I think Suh is somewhere around 50 to 1. And, Adam Hadwin actually is probably the least. I'd say he's probably 40 to 1. But these guys like Carson Young, Taylor Moore, Brandon Wu, I mean, you get a nice, 200 to 1 to 100 to 1 odds. And so why I like first round leader bets now, I haven't hit one in a while, probably at least 4 or 5 tournaments, but it is really nice when you hit a first round leader, you get that money. So you pretty much get your money back for everything that you've invested from a betting and a DFS side. It feels really good if you can somehow pull that off. You can also see what I did over here is, if you're curious, what is these numbers and model representing? This is what I call my showdown model. And what I'm looking at is round 1 of the past 4 tournaments. So if you go back to the past 4 tournaments and looking only at round 1, who ranks the best from a birdies, eagles, bogey avoidance, and birdie or better opportunities gained. And funny enough, Justice Suh comes out number 1. You can see Carson Young was actually 3rd in my ranking. This is actually pulled by just birdies, if you're curious. Ben Griffin's number 2 by birdies. Hence, you can kind of see, and you can be saying, well, why, Patrick Rogers? Patrick Rogers, if you've been watching and notice him, he's typically in a tournament. If he makes the weekend, out of those 4 rounds, he's going to have one really good round. He can shoot 8 under and then shoot 8 over. That's why he still is not one on tour. But he has had some really good round 1s. Austin Cook is just kind of a steady, and he has sneakily once in a while had a good round. Now you can see he's not really highly ranked from this showdown, but I put him in there because he was like 200 to 1. He's got a real early tee time. So that's the explanation on that. All right, with all that said, let's go jump over to Fantasy National. Let's go do some analysis so you can kind of see who I'm thinking about from a player pool, removing the weather, just going to, picking guys that I like and give you some ideas on who you might want to play, or you could see some information that might give you your own ideas. All right, let's go do that. Okay, so I've hopped over into Fantasy National, and as always, if you are doing any betting or DFS for golf, this is your solution. Check it out, fantasynational.com. That's my plug. And we are going to be looking using DraftKings pricing. And if you've never seen me do this before, which I'm guessing most of you have, but for the few that haven't, let me give you a quick explanation of what we're going to be looking at. So what this is kind of a dashboard, and it's giving you a lot of information in one space. So that's why I like it. It kind of comes across well and allows you to visually kind of see what I'm talking about. We're going to be looking at the last 24 rounds of golf or 6 tournaments that these guys have played. I've got no filters turned on. I've got no comp courses. I, as always, have done quite a bit of pre-work to narrow this field down. I've got it down to 24 guys that I'm interested in from a player pool. And with that said, let's jump right into it. Oh, well, let me give you a little more information on this, what I call the mini model. You've got 5 stroke gain categories that you can put in here. And so the top 5 I have is approach. I've got that weighted about 30%. Ball striking, pretty close to the same, around 30%. That's taken off the tee and, of course, the irons, which you can see there. Around the green, I think that's around 15%. Par 3 is around 15%. And proximity to the pin, around 15%. And that was my top 5 stroke gain categories that I'm weighting. And then what you've got here, which I actually really like, is this. I've never done this, but this is new for you guys and me, to show you fairways gain. Now, you can do this with greens or regulation. Typically, I do the birdies for you guys, but I'm not really concerned about guys that, this isn't Shriners, or it's not a birdie fest or a putting fest. It's a grind it out, make the cut, and hopefully you shoot 5 to 8 under maybe this weekend, and you can win this thing. That's how I see the scoring from everything I've seen. And if we see this red, that's not a good thing. That means they're missing quite a bit of fairways. If you see a lot of green on the way up, that's a good thing. And then what's also nice here is you can see their recent results. That's their past 5 finishes in the tournaments that they played. And then, of course, we can see tournament history here at the Valspar Innisbrook Copperhead course. Okay. Right off the top, you've got 4 guys that we got to pick at the 10,000 range, and I don't know if anyone's super excited about any of these guys, as in paying $10,000 to almost $11,000 for on DFS. Also, would note, this is everything that I'm talking about in my picks are for GPP. I've had people ask me that in the past, and I don't state that, so I need to make that clear. Now, can you use some of these picks for a cash game? Sure. But I'm putting this pool together for the large GPP game, which I believe we don't have a million maker anymore, but I think top prize is $250K. Okay, so also what you see here is you get the model rank. So where these guys rank in my models, salary, projected ownership as we speak, cuts made. So you get a ton of information, and you got to make a decision here. And probably a lot of my builds will probably not include any of these guys. But I do want to pick one for you. And I was kind of back and forth between JT and Justin Thomas. Mostly if you look at course history, JT's had good showings here, a T3, a T13, and then a miscut, a T18, a T10. So very solid history. We've been watching JT. I mean, last week he was ball striking great. It was just his putter has been a struggle. We can go quickly look at that for you. So he lost 5 strokes with the putter, but did pretty, ball striking was good. Lost a little bit to Arnold Palmer. He did gain on POA, funny enough, at the Genesis. Lost at the Waste Management. Lost at the Century, the CJ Cup. And, the driver, for me, actually at times has been a bit of concern too. So with all that said, I'm like, okay, and then Sammy Burns, we can quickly just summation that. I mean, it's just been really bad golf. Now, if you want to get super unique up at this range, I'll be curious. Now, right now it says projected ownership at 11%. I'll be shocked. But I mean, again, the guy's got elite course history, right? I mean, back-to-back wins, a T30, a T12. Even when he wasn't in his, prime, he was still doing well here. But if you're going to pay that price tag, you definitely need that guy to either win or hopefully at least top 5. I will probably be fading Burns. And then Fitzy, just same thing, has not been in good form. You can see 3 missed cuts out of the last 5 tournaments. Pretty good showing out to Arnold Palmer. That was really the best we've seen. He's played here twice, and he had a T5 in 2022. You can also see he hasn't been hitting a lot of fairways. Of course, he's gained distance, but that's been an issue. The proximity of the pin from the distance that 25% of these shots are coming in could be an issue. And his approach is really what's made me, kind of the most worried, if you want, when you're that low rated out of this kind of shabby of a group. Now, we do know typically he's a lead around a green and putting, but really not having, from a putting standpoint, he's either losing or barely gaining. And then the irons have just been trash since, August of last year. I mean, he's gained in one event, and that was the Arnold Palmer. Of course, and then he, lost a little bit around the green. But so you can kind of understand why I'm not too super psyched about him. So that kind of leaves me with Jordan Spieth, who's been ball striking really well, but we all know a little bit like JT, the putter has been spooky. Typically it reminds me of like Will Zalatoris or Scotty Scheffler back in the day, where those guys, when they get within 10 feet, I'm a wreck. And that's the same with Jordan Spieth. But you take him outside of 20 feet, I actually feel more confident that he's going to make a putt. So that's, of course, part of that. But I mean, you look at Jordan also, I mean, this is going back 2016. He had a really nice record. Last time he played here, he missed a cut. Of course, I mentioned the win back in 2015 in the height of his powers. But Jordan's been playing really good golf, not really taking advantage of every round, right? I mean, the Genesis, if I remember correctly, he came out, shot like 5 under or something like that, and then missed a cut. Or was that Pebble Beach? I think it was the Genesis. It doesn't matter. But what I do like about Jordan out of these 4 guys is his scramble, ability to scramble. Like the guy, if he gets in trouble, I think he's one of the best scramblers out there. And that is, if you don't know, if you hit it, into the pine straw, the woods, the bushes, whatever, giving yourself a shot to, make your up and down for a par. Jordan does that very well, as we know, around the green, and putting from a distance is usually very good. But you can see the par 3s and his proximity. Both of these don't look very good, especially these long par 3s, odd enough. So again, I'm not sold on, there's not one clear perfect path. Probably where I'll end up is, if I use a guy in the 10,000, I'll probably either go with JT to do some builds or Jordan Spieth. But Burns and Fitzy will probably not be in any builds, unless I'm going to keep, we'll look at ownership projections tomorrow. And if Sam Burns is like 8% owned, 7% owned, then maybe I take a couple shots. So that's it from the 10,000 range that I'm interested in. Now we get to the 9,000 range, and we've got, what we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys in the 9,000 range. I've identified, I believe, 3 that I'm going to go with. And I'm not going to dive in super detail with these guys, but Tommy Fleetwood, I've always said, if he's going to get a win or do well, it seems like Florida is his calling. He's played her once last year at a T16. He's been playing good golf. The putter, I feel like, has gotten a little better. Let's go jump on him real quick. The driver could be a little better than on a distance side. It's kind of odd that just posted open. If you want to bet Tommy Fleetwood is 66-1, U.S. Open champion. But you can see kind of up and down with the putter, but not too bad. Off the tee is where he's been struggling the most, but he did gain 5 strokes on that field at the Players, which of course we know was an elite field. So I kind of like where he's at. Tee to green, he's gaining. It's worse, kind of showing, of course, with the waste management, which, actually I think is one of the easier courses they played here recently, but it is what it is. Maybe he just doesn't like the desert. JR, actually, I think you could literally flip a coin between these 2 guys. I was back and forth, and I had to make a decision. Even Keegan, right? I mean, so where I kind of went was, you know what? You got these 2 missed cuts from JR. He had a really good show at the Players. I don't know. I'm just, you can kind of see here, miscut, T5, miscut. I mean, I like Justin Rose's game. His around the green game and putting, I think, has always been pretty good. He was kind of struggling more on the ball striking side, but that's come around. You can see on approach where he's ranking 28th out of this field. So I have no issues with JR. I might sprinkle him in, and kind of switch up Fleetwood and JR. Keegan Bradley, we already know he's, had that run here last year, but he's also had 2 missed cuts within 3 tournaments here. And we know he just miscut the Players, but, he's kind of got this, I don't know, good showing. Had a really good show at the Farmers, then a T20 miscut, T10 miscut. So that kind of keeps going on. I'm expecting Keegan to make a comeback. I mean, he had a really bad round 2. Which, I think if I remember correctly, that would have been early morning he probably teed off, because a lot of the people struggled. You can see that big ownership chalk bomb that was. And that could be another thing I kind of have to see. But why I like Keegan, I got to hold on a second. Revamp this. I don't know why it's doing this. But why I like Keegan is I know he's done well and watched him quite a bit, like at Sanderson Farms. So one of the top comp courses, Arnold Palmer. That's way back, so I don't really want to count that. But he's done well at Arnold Palmer, as you can see. Of course, done well at Valspar. Tougher tracks, he tends to shine. There's Sanderson Farms again, so a fourth, a fifth, and I think Sanderson Farms, CC of Jackson is the best comp course, in my opinion. So that's why I'm going to Keegan. Danny McCarthy, not that it's a bad play. Again, you can kind of see this make cut, miscut, make cut, miscut. I mean, when it's actually a good bet. If you're going to do anything, I'd probably rather bet the guy than actually play him in DFS. But I mean, he's made the cut here 3 times in a row. Best is a T9. Not the greatest on the fairways, but a little better here recently in March. You can see kind of just average on all the kind of ball striking measurements. But we know what's his elite weapon is the putter. But I don't know. I'm kind of going to go more with the ball striking guys than the best around the green and putting, unless you're just elite hitting fairways, which Denny McCarthy is not. All right, so Adam Hadwin, you see, I think you've hearing this. If you've listened to other guys and you've seen on mine, like from a modeling standpoint, and again, remember, this is historical data, and all that means is in the past, they line up to do well here. But again, if we could all predict the future, we wouldn't be doing this. So, but you can see, man, fairways gained. He's doing that very well. One of the best in the field. Every area that I want, he's crushing it. Of course, projected ownership is showing in. And again, I think he's going to be probably the chalk bomb of this week. Like we had Keegan last week, Adam Hadwin could be that one. So we have to see. But you can see, I mean, he had a miscut at Arnold Palmer, which is a comparable course, but a T13 at the Players. The Genesis of 66. I'm trying to remember the last. I think it was Waste Management. I picked him. So he did have a T10. Then, of course, he's got a win here way back in 2017. And then you had the Paul Casey run and then the Sam Burns run, but also had a T7 last year. So, and a couple of miscuts in there. So it could happen. He's missed the cut. You look at, out of that 5 tournaments, missed the cuts twice. And then, of course, no 2020 event because canceled due to COVID. Brian Harmon, I mentioned him that I would play him in the PMAM, but I mean, you can see he's had a ton of miscuts here. He had a T5 last year. Hasn't really done a whole lot this year. He is hitting fairways, but the rest of it's not great. But if I was just doing a PM, he would be considered. Davis Riley, I decided I'm not going to do it. He had that second place last year. He's had 3 missed cuts out of 5 events. Yes, in Florida, he made the cut. T29 at Honda, good showing at a good comp course, and then missed the cut the Players. Why I'm saying right now no at 9,000, and we even go back further, right? So Davis Riley was in a super funk. Let's see here. So 3 missed cuts in a row, then a 65th, and then I felt like he had this really nice run here. Couple missed cuts at pretty easy. Well, 3M Open is not easy, but Rocket Mortgage, no way you should miscut that event. Miscut at the Fortinet. I don't know. Like I said, I mean, I don't know. I'm not totally sold for 9,000 on DFS. And again, I get the weak field, but I don't know. I got to zig where other people are zagging. And that's going to be the guy that I'm going to probably zag while everybody zigs. How about that? But you got to do, you can see the information. He's 46 in my model, so he has 1 round here, and like I said, he's had quite a few miscuts over the last 6-7 tournaments. So there you go. I'd rather go to Justice $100 cheaper. Been playing amazing golf, T6, T24, T5, T40, and I still don't know what that withdrawal was. Especially, he's from California, of course. Played at USC, was an elite talent, right? Came out with Victor Hovland, the great 3. Wolf and Morikawa, and just took a lot longer to kind of get his, feet under him. But 11th ranked in my model, which, that is what it is. But you can see pretty highly projected ownership. But he's just, doing everything that I want. And so, yeah, I'm going to ride the form. Same with like Wyndham Clark, which, man, it's pretty rare you pay $8,800 for Wyndham Clark, but he's been, I don't know when's the last time he missed a cut. And that's all you got to say, and then he'll miss a cut. I mean, it's been all the way back at Shriners. So that's like, I don't know, 10 tournaments. The putter has been kind of back and forth. The irons are what, the one thing I looked at, and I looked at it pretty strongly, is that I feel like he's overachieving with his iron game. If you go back and track, so here you go back to fall of last year where he lost in 6 tournaments straight with his irons. Typically, he's lead off the tee and pretty good putter, especially I've always noticed on POA. But he's kind of right now. I mean, the Genesis. Funny enough, if he could have, which is funny, I just said he typically putts well on POA, and I believe he was one of my picks. I mean, it's still not a terrible finish, but and that was an elite elevated field. But the gain, the way he did there, I mean, the irons are good. And I mean, yes, he lost a little tiny bit at the Players, but he did gain a little bit with the putter. Was elite off the tee, which he's going to need that again this week. So I'm going to stick with it. You can see, though, sometimes he misses the fairway and has not been elite on these longer par threes or proximity from 175 to 200. Matt McNeely, just the simple explanation is the only reason why he's done what he's done this year, and I've said this 1,000 times, is his putting. And he must have done the same. I didn't even look. What did he do? Yeah, again, it's just amazing. I mean, I give the guy credit. Like, he's literally gained 7.2 at the Players, and still he barely made the cut because the guy ball striking off the team, and he's got length. What does it say here? 307 off the tee on average, so he can hit the ball out there. And he's had, I mean, you could sit there and say, well, hey, man, look at all these great, pretty good showings, and he's making cuts. I feel like he pulled out. Wasn't he? Pulled out of a couple tournaments. He had like a shoulder thing going. I thought that was him. I don't see it here. I don't see a WD. But yeah, what makes me worried is that it's been all with the putter and around the green, and that's not sustainable. Especially if it's going to be, deep rough and it's going to be a tough track. I think he's going to struggle. So that's why I'm skipping out of him. Instead, I'll go the total opposite way and go with an amazing ball striker, Gary Woodland, who cannot make a putt to save his life. But of course, I mentioned he is a past champion here. We'll have to pull up and see. I think, like I said, 2014. But you can see, ranks number 1 in my model. Short game and around the green is the issues. But if he can literally just only lose a stroke or like break even, Gary Woodland could easily top 20. That's kind of what we're going to need. But you can just see, I mean, losing 7 strokes to the field, losing five. There you go. How do you lose 10 strokes around the green? That's impressive. But you see, off the tee is great. Irons have been, pretty ridiculous at times. And you can see if he can just, like look at the Genesis. He only lost a stroke and a half and had a top 10. That's the hopes. And I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. With the 300 events he's ever played, around the green and putting has been his problem. And why did I think he won here? Maybe I'm wrong. I guess I'm wrong. He has not won here. He had an 8th. So I got some bad information. I was not watching Gary Woodland back in 2014. I will admit that. So anyways, I thought he had a win, but it's not. He had a top 10. At least that's what it's stating. I'm going to have to check those facts. All right, Brandon Wu. Kind of shocked a little bit on this price tag, $8,500. I think he's a little overpriced. And then I think the other Wu, Dylan Wu, is actually underpriced. I think he's pretty good value. So we'll talk about that a little bit. But again, great ball striker. Some nice finishes, T2 at 18 Pebble Beach, the Honda, the Players. So been doing good in Florida. And he's played here once at a T33. So maybe, I guess, they ran that and they said, this is what we're putting him at. So, okay. Ben Griffin, he just gets it done. I mean, the guy, nothing really is extraordinary about Ben Griffin. I mean, pretty good ball striker, good around the green. You see he does, little issues maybe at times with the fairway. But the guy, when was the last time he missed a cut? Well, I guess he missed AT&T. But other than that, back to Sanderson Farms, which again, one of my favorites. So, he went, 12, 13 tournaments with only 1 missed cut. And he's just solid, right? I mean, ball striking is good. He can spike with the putter. Good around the green. I mean, he's out of one of the rookies. I like his game, especially like in a showdown play. Not that he's a super guy that will score a ton of points, but I also know he's not going to go out there and shoot 5 over typically. So Taylor Moore, kind of looked at him a little bit. I actually like him. Actually opposite, where he can go out and score quite a bit, but the downside can be pretty bad too. Let's go take a gander at this guy. Likes to POA greens, and the putters looks like mostly a weapon. And same thing, pretty solid. I mean, he had a really bad day of it with the irons, or weekend of it at the Arnold Palmer. Kind of made a comeback around the green, was a little bit shabby. But yeah, I mean, a guy can spike, but again, I don't know. I'm looking for more of a steady play. Aaron Rye, like I said, just side note, just keep an eye on him that he doesn't withdraw. Like I said, I had some things in Fantasy National were showing that he withdrew, but I saw nothing in DraftKings and I saw nothing from PGA Tour communication. So, right now, all system go for Aaron Rye. Right, he was a pick of mine last week. I told you guys the one thing he does probably better than anybody in this field is hits fairways. Not super long, but super accurate. Everything else looks good. It's the putter. If he has gains 4 or 5 strokes with a putter, watch out. He could definitely get his first win on the PGA Tour. And he's made 4 out of the last 5 cuts. And in Florida, pretty solid. T19 is his best showing at the Players that we just talked about. That would have been a lot better. I think he went into Sunday like 5th or 6th place, and then just fell apart on the very end of the back nine, which a lot of the guys did. JT Poston I looked quite a bit at. You can see he's missed the cut 3 out of the last 5 times, and kind of back and forth. So you go by this trend, a made cut, a miscut, a made cut, a miscut. He should make the cut. I kind of looked at it to comparable courses with him, and that's a little bit. You can see projected ownership's lower, so I don't think it's a terrible play. Keish Lee, it's kind of funny with Keish Lee. I like him in a shootout. Give me, and maybe a bits of it because of what he's done at the Bunny Ranch, TPC, Craig Ranch, winning there back to back to Byron Nelson. I think on tougher tracks, I'm not a fan, and you can kind of see a bit of this. The Genesis miscut, the Players a miscut, not the American Express. I'm not saying it's difficult, but it made the cut at which Shriners is a bit of a shootout fest. He did make the cut at the Arnold Palmer, but I don't know. You gotta pick a lane. You can see he ranks pretty high in my modeling. I almost like him. If he had an early tee time, I'd like him first round leader because he could have that one round. He does have that capability. Binion just been playing good golf. He's a good ball striker. I was a bit interested again, but I started to notice I had a ton of guys selected in the 7,000 range, and I'm like, okay, I got to slim this down. So Binion did not make the cut. Victor Perez, I talked a little bit about him, of course, won over on the European Tour back in January, the Abu Dhabi, which pretty solid field. He when I look at his stats, I don't see anything that like strikes me as like, he does this very well. He's got distance, not the best accuracy. He scores kind of funny enough that, almost like a Minwoo Lee. Like I feel like Minwoo Lee is a little more lead off the tee, but also sporadic. I don't know. Like I said, from what I could figure, if you go look at his stats over on the DP World Tour, take a look at him. But I told you, I think I did bet him. So, and I might play him here or there, but right now he's not making the player pool. Stefan Jaeger, this was he was just a victim of not enough, just too many guys picked in this range. But, he's played here 3 times, missed the cut back-to-back. 2018 did make the cut. Also, Stefan Jaeger, I'm going to just kind of lump him into like the Keish Lee bucket. I like him on an easier track where it's a score fest. I'm not sure if I like him in a struggle bus. So, but you can see he's doing things very well over the last 6 tournaments he's played. Maybe a little issue on hitting the fairways, but everything else is a dark green, which is a very good thing. Also, I like him for a showdown, so I'll take a shot on him. If he's got like an early morning tee time, I've seen him just go in Fuego, but it's been a bit of a struggle this year, at least in placings. I mean, the Honda would be his best showing. Let's go look at that. I'm pretty sure that he's had in a while. And last fall, he had a 9th at the Houston, and then the Honda. So, and that's not bad. That was also a comp course. I think I used Memorial Park. Not too bad. Ludwig Edbig, I like to say it like that. I think he's here on a sponsor exemption. Of course, he's the #1 ranked amateur. The guy's just been playing amazing. But if I remember right, he did a lot of it with the putter at the Arnold Palmer. Yeah, he gained 5 strokes with the putter, 1 on approach. Nothing else really stood out. But I mean, I'm not, hey, we need guys good with the irons. And of course, it's good if you can putt. He did miss the cut at the Valero, which I think is a good comparable course. But that was all the way back almost a year ago. So no issues if you want to play him a little bit. Projected ownership's low, so could be worth a stab. Johnny Vegas right now says projected ownership's a little bit lower. People may be a little nervous of that missed cut. I think it's a good time to jump back on. You can see 2 made cuts, 7,700 for out of this field. I think he does 2 things pretty elite: the ball striking, it's the putter, and I believe he lost crazy strokes with the putter. Okay, that was the Genesis. I thought he lost more in that. The irons weren't firing, so that was the big issue probably, and lost two. I mean, typically it's pretty rare. I mean, he did gain 5 strokes at the Honda, which is a bit shocking. It's kind of shocked he didn't actually place better than a 21st when you're doing this with that, but around the green was a problem. Garrett Cagle, you guys know I'm a fan of. To typically play, I guess I'm not going to play him. Just the guy can get around. He's actually a really good scrambler. And so maybe I got to rethink this. Maybe it's a good bet, but he's good at putter. I like him. I like him putting. I like him around the green. I like his scrambling. The driver, he's got a little bit of distance, but typically he can get a bit wayward. The irons haven't been bad. Off the tee has been bad. It's actually been funny enough. The one thing that first thing I think about when I think of Garrett Cagle is I think he's a pretty good putter. So, this kind of making me a little bit of a liar. It's kind of on and off. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about that one. He did have a good showing at Sanderson Farms. That's a tight. You got to keep that in play. Let's go take a look at this. I know he won Palmetto at Congaree. Best showing was at the #1 comp course. I did not remember that at all. Could be an interesting top 10 bet. I'm gonna take a look at that. So there's an idea for you. I think I'm gonna sprinkle him. I'm really biased to guys that have done well. I really think that Sanderson Farms, the Chicken Open, at CCA Jackson in this course, I think there's a ton of similarities on many fronts. Now, it all doesn't matter, right? Either you go out and you play well or not, but at least it shows you do have the capability. Now, he's never played her before, but with seeing that, it kind of gets me a little intrigued to think about maybe a bet, again, like a top 20, top 10, and maybe throw him in a lineup or two. Okay. Nate Lashley, of course, I've talked a bit about him, won the Rocket Mortgage. I was actually at that event, so I've always got this soft spot for Nate Lashley. Hit some of the best iron shots I've ever seen, of course, personally live. He had a really nice showing at Puerto Rico. He didn't think he was even be able to finish that tournament. He was having lower back pain, but hopefully that's all good. I mean, he played in the Players, had a T60, good showing at the Genesis. I always think of like AT&T Pebble Beach. He had a good shot of winning it at one time. But you see, ranked pretty well in my model, does hit fairways. Hits a heavy ball. Hits a kind of a lower ball flight. So I have no problem. Nick Taylor, I was kind of back and forth. I mean, he had 2 recent missed cuts. The waste management was good. You can also see kind of a mixed bag. T70, a miscut. T24, cut, miss, So you got to kind of make your own decision on that. I was kind of back and forth. I think he could do all right here, but again, just had to cut it down. Joel Damon, I just kind of laugh. If you've seen the full swing next week, I think he had the best quote. And I think it was something to the effect of like, well, hey, somebody's got to be the 60th best PGA golfer in the world or whatever it was. I don't know, that he was just kind of happy with status quo. Now that might change a bit now with these elevated events to get in. But anyways, if you watch that, it's worth a watch. I thought it was kind of funny. A lot of people did like breakdowns and analysis and all that on, not analysis, but like, I don't know who wants to sit and listen to someone talk about a movie or a series. So, okay. Anyways, no problems. I mean, Joel Damon has some skill sets, but you can see he's had a bit of a, not the greatest run of it, but it has made the cut twice here. So side note, Akshay Bhatia, talked quite a bit about him for the Puerto Rico Open. Was really hoping he could have pulled it out, but my buddy, Nico Shavari, I always mess that up. I don't know why. I don't know. I'm a little worried about Akshay on this course. Now, let's go take a look at this, because now I'm starting to remember I thought he had a pretty good showing at Sanderson Farms. Nope, he miscut. Okay. And I think this was his first PGA event ever. I'm guessing he got a sponsor invite. Let me take a look. Yeah, I think he missed a cut. I don't know. I can see a big letdown coming. 8% ownership. I mean, the upside, he's got a lot of upside, but of course he's also got the downside. But I think their games are also a little similar. I think they're lanky, got that long swing, can hit it a long way, but they also get a bit wayward. So I don't know. And I already told you guys, Will Gordon, for whatever reason, I've got another one of these guys for you. My spidey senses are tingling a bit that Will Gordon was the first guy I thought about from a betting perspective. I think he's kind of going to fly under the radar a little bit, so I'm going to play him in DFS. I've already bet him. The guy just, if you ask, well, why is that? Well, he's just elite out of this field from a ball striking perspective. But again, around the green and putting is where, pretty accurate with the tee ball, does well in difficult courses, but says, funny enough, does well in difficult courses, but doesn't do a whole lot with stronger winds. The putter has been at least, kind of doing a little better. We're going to need that. The irons, can go up or down. And then off the tee is typically where he kind of shines, the irons. And so I don't know. I also, let me see here. Let me look at the series at his best showings. I would think that part of that would be the reason. RSM, that's a smaller track. Puerto Rico, Wyndham. All right, he had a 30th at Sanderson Farms, 53rd. So nothing really, Worldwide Tech where I was recent. That's I feel like a little more like the vacation swing. El Camaleon, apologize, at Mayakoba. That's in Mexico, not the Bahamas. That would be Tigers tournament. Okay. Anyways, I do like Will Gordon. I'm going to play him, and I like to see his ownership low. Hopefully that stays that way. Could blow up in my face, but we'll see. Ricky Bobby Shelton, I've talked to in length about this guy with you, but recent results been really good. He did miss cut at the Players and played here one time and missed cut, but everything else, I like his game. Put it that simple. And out of what you're getting at 7,500, I don't have a lot of options. Bo Hosler, this guy, I feel like he's almost a bit like Siwoosh, where he can, out of nowhere, all of a sudden he just catches fire. The guy's got a pretty good putter, and around the green, as you see, it's the off the tee and the ball striking. I think certain courses you can get away with what he does. On this course, you're not hitting fairways, you're going to be in trouble, I think. So, nope. Pearson Kudiak, I told you guys I bet him. I'm just going to leave it at that. The guy has impressed me with some of the rounds that he has put together. Of course, he had a really good showing at the Arnold Palmer. Has 2 wins on the Corn Ferry. I know one's recent. The other one I don't think was too long ago. And then the Honda was, he kind of had a spike. I don't know if that was round 2 for him or round 1. It was like early on, the guy was like, way up there and then kind of fell apart. Alex Smalley I just don't think of him for this. Again, I don't know. I just always go back. There's certain places I'll play Smalley, the Wyndham, maybe Shriners. I don't know, a little more of a scoring fest. Maybe he'll prove me wrong, but Arnold Palmer, he missed a cut at a couple difficult courses, made the cut at Pebble Beach, but, did pull it off the Farmers. EVR, I thought, at Puerto Rico, if he was going to do something, and then I just lost my mind when I watched him at the Honda, how bad he played. So no thank you right now. Probably go on to, but he's just so sporadic. Benny Martin, been playing good golf. You can see my model likes him. Number 5. He had a T5 at the Honda, T13. Made the cut here twice. That was a little bit of a while ago, but could be a good play. I didn't do it. Maybe I'll plug him in. I don't know. I just have a hard time literally getting over playing Ben Martin. Let's go take a look. Yeah, he's been around a while. His only win on tour was 2014 in the Shriners. Just trying to see what was his last. So he went down to the Corn Ferry to get his card back. Rocket Mortgage wasn't a bad finish. Again, a weak field, but so is this. Yeah, I don't know. I got to think about that one. 7,400. Tyler Duncan. I like Tyler. I think there's a lot of upside with him. I also like him quite a bit in Showdown for a cheap guy, especially if he's early tee time. I also like betting him first round leader. So yeah, no problems. Just he didn't make the cut. A lot of you can see as the irons have been. Sammy Ryder, I was kind of back and forth on. He's been playing really good golf, but he has missed a cut here 3 times. But I feel like his game's got a little even better than then. So I got no issues there. What's he doing off the tee? You can see he doesn't hit a lot of fairways, but yeah, 60% accuracy. I want to go look at off the tee has been recently a bit of a problem, but man, he's been a bit like a Matt McNeely. He's been crushing it with just the putter. David Lingermuth, I'm going with him. I've told you guys, I think he's really found something. You can see he's played here. It's been a while, but he's played here 4 times, made the cut every time. He had a good showing at the Honda, a good showing at the Players. Hitting the irons well. I think he's got some confidence. He's hitting fairways. So $7,300, I feel like he's a good play. I like Ryan Gerard. I marched him out there for the Puerto Rico, and I really like what I saw at the Honda. Now, we don't have enough information on this guy. Haven't seen enough, but, this could be a buy low opportunity at 7,300. That's what I'm going with. Hopefully the upside. Now, projected ownership gets a little nutty. I might change my mind on that, but right now, Webb Simpson, I told you guys, it was funny where some people jumped on that boat because he had one good round of golf and an okay tournament at the Arnold Palmer. But man, That guy. I mean, I'm a big Webb Simpson fan. I think he's a great guy. I loved his game. It's actually sad. I mean, I hope he gets back to steady form, but right now I just can't do it, and we'll have to see and wait. Eric Cole, you can make a lot of arguments to play him. When I started to look at where he's done well, he had that shown at the Honda, tough track, PGA National, one of the toughest tracks. But I just kind of felt like, I don't know. I mean, what I could see, like this course could cause him some issues. Now, the main reason, and it's kind of back why I didn't play him at the Honda, maybe that comes back and smacks me, but he doesn't hit the fairway a lot and he's not long. So you can see at the Honda, he actually gained distance and hit a lot of fairways. Of course, the irons, and he putted just ridiculous, gained a ton of strokes, 8.4 with the putter. That's not sustainable. You can see, he had this run here of some issues. I don't know. I'm kind of wait and see because I really want guys that I can trust off the tee. All right, I'm going to move the rest to this. Sammy Stevens, no thank you. Kramer Hickok, I think this is going to be funny. Here's my prediction. Let me show you something here. This guy has these spurts of made cuts. So watch this. Makes 3 cuts. He missed what? I don't know, 8 in a row. And then he made like 3 cuts and then he missed 2 cuts. Like it is just violent. And here's a nice, 7 or 6 missed cuts. I don't know. I know some people are jumping on the bandwagon. I'm going to watch the ownership. I think he's, of course you can say, hey, last 3 tournaments, playing good golf. But you can see if you just look over 6 tournaments, you take, just a 6 tournament span, it's been very recent that he's had this little uptick. And so over that, I'm going to say no thank you. Also, you can make the argument he's made the cut here 3 times. So I looked at this long and hard. 7,200, it's kind of an ownership play for me. I've got to kind of wait and see. Me personally, would rather play Trey Mullinax. Now you can see the irons haven't been firing that great, but I would rather take the distance that he's got. And why is that? If you hit it further off the tee, and you do get in this rough, you have a shorter iron end, so it makes it easier to hit the green in regulation. So that hence is why I would rather tend to go with guys with more distance, but maybe don't have the accuracy. So just side note. Ben Taylor, kind of like the Benny Griffin. I kind of jumped on the Bens very early on, and it has been paying off, especially from a DFS standpoint and even a showdown. And I'm kind of shocked at this price tag. I mean, you see fairways could be an issue, but you would consider and play this game of, Brandon Wu was what, at almost 9,000? What was Brandon Wu at? I got to see this real quick. Yeah, Brandon Wu was at 8,500, and I have a hard time understanding that you can make a case that he's that much better than Ben Taylor. That's my own personal opinion. You can also see he gains with the putter, which Brandon Wu does not gain with the putter. He's been gaining extremely now. Off the tee has been a little sporadic, but he's had a nice showing here. I mean, from a ball striking perspective, he's had a 3rd, a 21st, a 4th, a 5th at the Honda. Yes, he had some missed cuts, but I'm saying, makes sense of that to me. Now let's go look at Brandon Wu. Let's just do a little comparison while we're at it. Maybe I will prove myself wrong here. Even Dylan Wu, so we can look at that too. I mean, you can see from a modeling perspective and what they've done recently, again, very underpriced. I don't really know the answer why Brandon Wu is priced where he's at. All right, so he had a second at an easy track. Pebble Beach, is an easy track. Had a miscut at the Genesis, a couple miscuts here. Yeah, I mean, you got to go back to the Wyndham. I mean, this Genesis, I get that's over last summer ago. So he had a couple good showings past summer, but I mean, if you take within the last, I don't know, 12, 15 tournaments, I would say Ben Taylor's got a better record than Brandon Wu. I don't think it's even now I'm not hating on Brandon Wu. I picked him. But I'm just letting you guys know that, there's value down the board. And I think Ben Taylor is one of them. And I also think Dylan Wu, and probably from a betting perspective, I don't think I bet either of these guys. But again, if you want to get an idea for like a top 20, I think both those guys should be carrying a 15 to 20 to 1 odds for the top 20. So there's another betting idea. Look list. I don't know. I was kind of back and forth on this. I mean, you can see you just don't know what he's going to do. Great ball striker. Is he going to not lose 10 strokes with a putter? So I just said, you know what, for right now I'm punting on that. I'll go with Neesmith. Of course, he had a chance here to win last year, T3, had a T21. So something about this course now. What also, if I remember correctly, is unique about Neesmith is that where he's had his best showings. Wait for it. Okay, so there's the Valspar course, Waste Management. I think is a pretty good track. Sanderson Farms, Valspar. I mean, the comp courses, Valero, that I've laid out is where this guy plays well. And so if I am on and I am correct that there is a really nice correlation, and at Neesmith, I think I've already bet him. I'm pretty sure he was in the betting. I think he was like, I don't know, 150 to 1, something like that. Maybe it's 100 to 1, 110 to 1. Doesn't matter. He's bet. I like him. I think he can win this thing. I mean, he showed it last year. He had a really close chance to win this thing. I think a nice other value play is 7,200. I think Bramlett reminds me quite a bit of him. Of course, he got his car back now. He's had 2 miscuts recently, but pretty good showings before that. He's also made the cut here twice. So another guy, I think, he's got elite distance, again, making it easier. If you do get in this rough, well, if you got 130 out instead of 170, that's a big difference. Let's go take a look at the Bramlett. I don't know why this keeps doing it, but every time I click on it, guys, it's not allowing me to do what I need to do. All right, the Houston Open, good comp course. Just trying to see any others. Funny Palmetto, Valero, and then a couple back-to-back Sanderson Farms in the 40s. So nothing as good, but I really feel like Bramlett's game's come along quite a bit since he was hurt big time. I think he had to take a couple of years off. I forgot. I don't know if he blew a disc or what, but I don't know. My personal opinion is I kind of like that play. Adam Schenk, I was kind of shocked that his modeling is this bad. You can see his, pretty good on the recent results and kind of a mixed bag, either makes or misses a cut. But I also think his skill set, kind of fits this, got the distance, putts good on Bermuda, made a ton of cuts in a row. So I'll have no problem. I will sprinkle Adam Schenk. It was just the same thing. I told you guys, man, I could literally just build a lot of teams out of the 7s and be okay with it. Patrick Rogers, already told you, bet him for first round leader. You can see it's very volatile. T14 and then just a bunch of missed cuts. All right, I'm going to fly through the rest of these. And you can just kind of see if you like anything. Mark Hubbard, funny enough, worked really well from a modeling perspective, but 2 missed cuts here. But the model loves him. I really wasn't thinking of him as someone that I would want to play here. But Nick Hardy actually was in my kind of player pool. If he stays below 5%, I'll definitely play Nick Hardy. He's an amazing ball striker. You could see it's been a rough go of it. Let's go click on him. But he actually has some nice finishes. The putter looks like it's typically a mess, and that's what's been killing him. But you can see this block right here, just ball striking goodness. And this was it too. This 5th at Sanderson Farms. Again, I know I'm putting quite a bit for my own self, waiting on that, but you got to look for these little things that kind of steer you down the path that you're going, and then just hope it works. I mean, again, I'm going with the knowledge I have, and if you've ever seen the Chicken Open or watched it quite a bit, it's got a lot of similarities. All right. Funny enough, I accidentally, and I'll say that very clear, I accidentally bet Chad Ramey, and I was trying to bet Carson Young. So side note, I put a bet on Carson Young. I think he's 200 to 1. These guys were right next to each other. So I actually have a bet on Chad Ramey with no desire to do that. But if he does hit, that would be kind of funny. Stuart Sink, I think he's had some good showings here. Yeah, a T7th last year. He's got the distance. You can see it's been a little bit of a struggle. The putting actually has been improving for Mr. Sink. Of course, he had the 2 wins, 2021? Let's take a look at that. Wow, it's driving me nuts. So yeah, I won an RBC Heritage and the Fortinet. So like out of nowhere, put that together, and then it was a while. Yeah. Anyways, side note. Grayson Sig, I don't know. You can see it's not been that great. So kind of off. Dylan Fratelli, like my Will Gordon, this is my other out of nowhere, just premonition kind of came to me out of the ether that Dylan Fratelli could win this thing. And once I thought, well, let's go take a look at this. Why do you think that? Now you can see good showing at the Waste Management, good showing at the Honda, then a miscut. He's only played here once at a T37. But this is what's funny about Dylan Fratelli. If you don't know, the guy actually can crush the ball at the tee. He gained that distance like back in like 2020. Now, of course, the last time he's won, and the only time he won was at John Deere, which you could really stretch it to say there's some similarities, but I'm not going to go there. I don't think it's a great comp course. But then look at where he like shows up. The Open, a fifth. The Masters, a fifth. Of course, that was the Fall Masters, which has an asterisk because it played really easy. But Sanderson Farms, he had a sixth. Valero, an eighth. And before I already bet this guy before I even, to be honest, really looked into this. Sanderson Farms recently, so this was just recent, this past fall, a 13th. Didn't remember that. Waste Management, you can make an argument for TPC Scottsdale has some crossover fields and winners. Arnold Palmer, like the guy, Valero. I was actually really shocked because like I literally was not doing analysis and said, oh, hey, I think Dylan Fratelli looks good from the analysis. It was when I got to his name, I just said, man, the price tag is 7,000. He's 250 to 1 to win it. And I also bet him top 20, which I believe was 18 to 1. Do whatever you want with that. I'm not, because I mean, he could literally miss the cut by a ton. But man, when the guy is on, and there was something else. Let me see here. Difficult. Yeah, he can handle difficult, can handle the wind. He lives in Texas, Austin, Texas to be exact. But the putter has actually been working. And that's usually was the issue at times for him. And then when he won at the John Deere, the irons were in Fuego. But he's had this nice, pretty decent ball strike. Now, the players did not work out at all. But you can see here, the waste management was really good from, ball striking, putting, everything. So I don't know, 7,000 in this field, especially if that projected ownership, I am pretty high on Dylan Fratelli. Lipsky, again, model likes him. You can see not the greatest results. Best T65, barely making the cuts or missing it, and did play here once before. I only bring him up because last week I was on him and then he just stunk it up. So I'm like, nope, off that. All right. I'm going to scroll down through the rest of these guys because Hoffman, I kind of looked at. Russell Knox, both has made the cut here 4 times, all consecutive. And then you got here Charlie Hoffman, a T18, a T18. So I called that out because they were kind of like in and out of the player pool. Zach Johnson, that's a different way to get it done here. He has been playing pretty decent golf and has made the cut here 3 times. There's my Carson Young. I mean, literally, this was just a bet because of just a couple of recent results. So that was it. I think he's 200, as I mentioned, 200 to 1. Troy Merritt, going to run a rough go. Luke Donald, I think I told you, I'm going to go verify this because I thought Gary Woodland won here, and that is not what it's showing me. So let me go verify that I'm correct that Luke Donald was a past winner here. Now, also, the data only goes back so far, so that could be it too. Maybe I didn't notice. Maybe Woodland won it before. I think 2014 is the latest that Fantasy National goes back. So maybe those guys won it in like 2000. I feel like 2011 was Luke Donald and Lucas Glover making the cut, man. I've got a soft spot for Lucas Glover, of course. Whenever you hit a guy that you call out of nowhere, John Deere was like his first win in like 10 years. And not saying he's going to win. I did not bet him at all. But the guy's a really good ball striker. And funny enough, the putter, which is typically trash, you can also see, hits about 300, very accurate, and a good irons. Well, I take that back. He did gain a little at the player. I thought the putter was actually not as bad. He's actually not doing what he typically does with the ball striking either. So, what was his last? The FedEx St. Jude was his last, like, straight across good showing. Which I wouldn't say is a perfect comp course for this. But, I don't know. For 6,700, I'm going there. Kevin Tway, little sign of life. You got Matthias Schmid, and you've got Matthias Schwab. So, don't get those guys confused. And they're also priced right next to each other. You can just put them both in the same lineup and see how that goes. Austin Smotherman, he had a 225 here. His game kind of fits a little bit. He's a really good ball striker, just really bad around the green, and the putter's pretty stinky. Yep, I said stinky. And then if you're going to build that hey, I want guys that just hit fairways. Well, you can pick Ryan Armour, you can pick Ryan Moore, you can pick Stewart, you can pick Garnett, I believe, is in the field. James Hahn, funny enough, the model man, his approach in the ball striking has been ridiculous. Like everything from a ball striking is out of this world. So he has done it, right? He had a chance to win. The last time I remember was waste management. And there was one even more. Maybe it was the 3M Open where Scott Piercy also had a chance. Let's take a look at this. All right, yep, the 3M Open was the last time that he was in contention, which meant the putter actually worked, as you see. So it can happen. That's bent greens. And then I mentioned the waste management where he just fell apart on the last couple holes. Yeah, the driver, as he drove one into the water. I think that was like on 16 or no, that's a par 3. Maybe I don't think it was 17. It must have been before that. Maybe it was 15. The year that Koepka won. But you can see he's actually done pretty good at the waste management. Side note, if you want to play him, maybe play him there. Also, could be a $6,500 low ownership play. Could be something to think about. Again, Ches Reavie, if you're building that little plotter crew, throw him in there. There's my buddy Austin Cook. You could be like, why the heck are you talking about Austin Cook? But he had a bit of a run. I'm making some cuts, and the guy kind of fits that plotter camp, right? But I mean, he's been a little, missed last 3. Had this little run here, pretty good. Kind of like, who was the guy? Kramer Hickok, right? Kind of the same thing, makes 4 cuts, then misses 3 cuts. But again, I don't know. If you're down, I don't think you need to be really in the 6,000 range, to be honest. I don't think I'll be playing a whole lot of guys down here. I mean, Kevin Roy, I brought him up because I bet him. Made the last 2 cuts. I think he's got super crazy. Either he's got really crazy distance, and his irons have been freaking dead on. So this is why I bet him. You see the putter. He hasn't been scoring very well, but he's got some elite skills. Richard Wierenski, good plotter. I'm kind of shocked that he doesn't hit more fairways for what he needs to do. And I think that's it. I'm not going to waste any more of your time with any of these other guys down here. I'm just kind of passing, just saying no. All right, that's it. Let's go jump out. And well, actually, let me do it this way because I did not put these guys together and show you because I just did not have time. So let's do it this way. Let me go over my picks for you. All right, so my top 24, but my player pool for the Valspar. Starting out, number 1, I already mentioned I will interchange between Justin Thomas and Jordan Spieth, but if you put a gun to my head, I'm going to go with Jordan in the 10,000 range. And then I got a few guys at the 9,000 range because I'll probably be starting a lot of lineups with these guys: Tommy Fleetwood, Keegan Bradley, Adam Hadwin. I am really terrified that Adam Hadwin could be the chalk bomb of this week, so we'll see how that all goes. Typically, when everybody is on him and the model and everything says you got to play Adam Hadwin, just like at the Arnold Palmer, he will miss the cut. Okay, Justin Suh will be my next guy in at 8. Wyndham Clark, Gary Woodland, Brandon Wu, who I think is a bit overpriced. I've stated that. I've given you Dylan Wu and also Taylor Moore. Was it? Or Ben Taylor? Ben Taylor is a good option from a pricing standpoint. You got Ben Griffin, Aaron Rye. Keep an eye that he does not withdraw. Again, the reason why I bring that up is because I saw it in Fantasy National. Somehow they were getting it in one view that I had that he withdrew. So, but nothing else. Nothing in DraftKings. Nothing from PGA Tour Communications. Going to go back to Johnny Vegas, Nate Lashley, the guy that you could make a strong argument for not playing, Will Gordon. But because I am betting him and I had my premonition, actually the 2 guys, Fratelli and Will Gordon, could both miss the cut by 10 strokes. But also I think there's that upside. So I'm in. Ricky Bobby, David Lambert, that's kind of, I think, more of a condom play. Ryan Gerard, we'll see. Right, we're trying to get maybe this guy is a top 20, for the next 10 tournaments. So price tag is just going to go up. So let's get him while he's cheap. There's Ben Taylor, I mentioned, who I really like at 7,200. Neesmith, his pedigree of where he's done well ranks out on a lot of the comp courses, and of course also almost won here. Joseph Bramlett, just elite skill set of distance, and it has some other things. I like that. Dylan Fratelli, I told you the model, but when you look at where this guy shows up, it's very tough tracks out of nowhere. Dylan Wu, maybe one of the better values on the board. Lucas Glover, great ball striker, terrible putter. And I hope that keeps going because I like him. Austin Cook, kind of a sneaky play. And again, there's only, 4 guys in the 6,000 and Kevin Roy again. So, kind of, I don't think you need to, maybe if you're going to play anybody, play Dylan Wu. You can see ownership is ridiculous already on them. But these other guys, if they give you a top 10, could really differentiate. Fratelli is going to be my guy. So I put that Will Gordon and Fratelli lineup together and that pops, well, you'll know it'd be a good weekend. All right, let's jump on it and wrap this thing up. Okay, so with that said, that is my show. And as always, if you do me the honor of clicking that like button, share this with anybody else that really needs some deep dive analysis on the Valspar. Click that subscribe button if you've not subscribed, because you should, because then you'll get notified if you click the notification button that, hey, Guru's got a new show out. And last but not least, follow me on Twitter to get all your updates on withdrawals or anything that I see that you need to know before hopefully the lineups start or during the lineups or whatever. So at Twitter, at DFS Golf Guru. And with that said, I will probably have a quick show tomorrow to go over ownership projections, anything I see from pressers, just more about how the golf course is playing, and a little more deeper dive analysis on the weather side and maybe, some other things. So that will be out tomorrow, but it'll be a quick show tomorrow. All right, guys, thanks. All the best of luck to us, and I'll talk to you guys later.